Yo, would you know about taking honours, then having to lie? I can't say a man did it. I was in a tea house running up numbers, usually a yard watching Harry play cricket.
Hey lads, today I'm gonna show you how to drive a car. We'll fantasy and go like...
Pixar Animated Studios are the pioneers of some of the greatest animated movies of all time, like Toy Story, Finding Nemo, Inside Out, The Incredibles. The list just goes on and on. Their movies are great. However, there's one series of Pixar films which people consider Pixar their worst, and that is Cars. It came out in 2006 and it was about a race car who was on his way to the biggest race of his life, and he gets stranded in this awful neighborhood called Radiator Springs, where he learns about life being worth waiting for. Even though people consider Cars to be not as good as Toy Story or Finding Nemo or The Incredibles, it was still a huge success at the box office and got good reviews and sold a whole bunch of toys. So with that being said, I was actually surprised to learn that this movie got a lot of hate when it came out, because I freaking loved this film when I was younger and I still really like it today. It's nothing really that like groundbreaking or that big, but it's certainly not as overrated as Frozen. It has good animation, good voice acting, a solid story that teaches a lesson about thinking about others instead of yourself, and it's very chilled and very relaxed, and I think that's because of the neighborhood it's set in. So yeah, overall I really do like this film. I don't really have much to say about it because it's just a really solid movie, so I'd probably give it around an 8 out of 10 or something like that. I'd probably go as far and say that it's Pixar's best movie outside of Toy Story and Up. Now unfortunately, despite the fact that me and a lot of other people like the first Cars movie, the reason it gets such a bad rap is because of its 2 sequels, which we're going to talk about right now. And obviously we're going to start by talking about the second one. While the first movie was solely about racing, the second one is about spies and secret agents with some racing in it. It's worth pointing out that critics hated this movie when it came out. It got like, I think 40% on Rotten Tomatoes, which from Pixar standards is really embarrassing. Audiences hated it as well, but over the years they've been calling this film a guilty pleasure, but everyone can agree that this is Pixar's worst film. And again, much like the first film, it's not that bad. I think that the heavy focus on the secondary character, who was the comic relief in the last film, wasn't really the smartest idea. New spy action tone that this film was trying to go for was very abrupt, especially since the first movie, as I said, was just about race. But apart from that, I don't think that there's anything else I could say that would trash this film, because at the end of the day, I still enjoyed it and I could see myself rewatching this one more than the first one. There were some good action and racing sequences which were even better than the ones in the first film. Animation was also just as good as the first, and overall I do think that even though it's not as memorable or as like it doesn't teach a lesson compared to the first film, I think that Cars 2 is much more creative, and with its locations and with its story. I understand why people don't like it, and that's completely fine, it's your opinion, but personally, while I don't think it's Pixar's best film, it's certainly not their worst, and overall I do think that there's still enjoyment to be had in it. This film's probably around a 6 or a 7 for me. It has a lot of problems, but I still really enjoyed it, probably because of nostalgia or something like that. But let's see if the third one can redeem this franchise. So let's move on to Cars 3, the third and probably the last in the Cars film franchise. Now obviously after Cars 2, a lot of people weren't really looking forward to seeing a third film, but the trailer really got a lot of people interested. Much like 99% of the movies that I've done on this channel, I didn't see this movie when it came out, but if I had seen this trailer before the movie came out, I would have been so hyped. I mean, just look at it. Now that's how you build anticipation. I think that the teaser for this movie is probably one of the best teaser trailers for any animated movie of all time. Unlike Fast and Furious, it was showing everyone that Cars was going back to its roots of racing. And sure enough, it did. I understand why people say this one's better than Cars 2, but I'm not gonna lie about this is the worst one in the series. Say what you want about 2, but I do think that it had energy that made it enjoyable. But Cars 3, it has energy, but it's just not as enjoyable as the other two. But that doesn't mean it's awful. It has good animation, good voice acting, and solid writing. But aside from that, I don't think it's the best one because it's very forgettable. So while it is the worst in the Cars trilogy, I do think that it's a satisfying conclusion to a trilogy that is so nostalgic. And I'm not gonna lie, a pretty underrated trilogy and really overhated. Yeah, I love this trilogy, so I don't get why people hated it. I mean, it's certainly not as good as Toy Story, but at least it's not as jarring as something like Frozen. They're very heartfelt. A lot of passion goes into these films, so I highly recommend you show your kids these. They're classics. But yeah, thanks for watching. Like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch all of you next time with another video. Okay, let me see that clip from the beginning one more time.